And now that we've taken a look at the budget landscape and the money DOD will have to buy your products for the year, let's discuss some of the elements that will be impacting how the agencies will be buying. Last year's National Defense Authorization Act included language that was impactful to the IT product community, and that it required that DOD develop and implement a software assurance policy for the entire life cycle of covered systems. And this means that anyone selling to DOD will have to have a way to identify and remediate vulnerabilities in their products. And it's also telling agencies that they have to use COTS products unless they can make a compelling argument against using them. After combing through the FY14 NDAA, perhaps the most relevant sections to us are those proposing a cloud service working capital fund that will allow more flexibility and cost benefits for agencies. Also, there's language requiring the President and the Secretary of Defense to establish a strategy to deter enemies in cyberspace, and the document also includes an enhancement provision which ramps up military spending to include an additional $1.8 billion for O&M accounts to reverse problems created by sequestration.
And another impactful piece of policy to come out of DOD this year is the DOD Strategic Management Plan. And the plan is designed to create an effective business operation that enables the warfighter over the year. Now, this plan proposes 4 strategic goals that are listed here on this slide to guide DOD's investments across FY14. Now, the plan advocated for building more agile and secure information capabilities, especially with respect to financial applications. Additionally, it suggested improving DOD's acquisition culture by further using shared acquisition vehicles for software and hardware. The Strategic Management Plan states that, quote, the department must rely on best value COTS products. We all know that the agency is already using COTS products to consolidate data centers, operation centers, and help desks to improve information access and security. Now, DOD has been consolidating for years through individual component activities and broader department efforts. So think Navy's NMCI or DISA's Defense Enterprise Computing Centers, or DECs. But now, DOD CIO's office is working to consolidate services. And as we all know, this started with the shift to enterprise email. Now, these standardization and consolidation efforts will allow DOD to improve business operations and share information without the limitation of silos. And it's this idea of sharing information without the limitation of silos that's resonating across the entire department. Now, if you've spoken with leadership from any of the service branches, from DISA, or from the Joint Chiefs, you'll know that the Joint Information Environment, or the JIE, has been and remains a key priority for them, and DOD's Strategic Management Plan references the JIE extensively.
So we've gotten a lot of people in recent months asking us what the JIE is, and so I'll repeat some of the points we made at last year's briefing, which incidentally you can find on our website. First off, JIE is not a funded program. It's not a network. It's a framework or a construct that, when leveraged across the DOD services, will allow them to converge to a common vision of unified capabilities. This will ensure DOD has the most efficient, interoperable, and efficient and secure solutions possible. And this effort is managed by a tri-chair committee that's made up of the DOD CIO, the J6, and the Cybercom Commander. The first component of the JIE, what they're calling enterprise operating centers, stood up in Germany on July 31st, and this was the first real step forward towards realizing the JIE vision.
And the JIE infrastructure is going to leverage common standards regardless of service provider or mission-specific utilization. Now, back over the summer, of course, Terry Takai selected DISA as the exclusive provider of core data centers. And these core data centers are going to be the DISA DECs. So the DECs will form the backbone of the JIE. Now, the department believes that the core data center framework is going to lead to significant savings by cutting down on wasted or underutilized IT infrastructure.
And the JIE is designed in part to leverage mobility and to bring garrison to the edge capabilities. This means that information can be available anywhere. And at this point, securing mobile devices, including their apps, emails, and other functions, as well as the wireless networks that support them, is an important first step towards realizing mobility. To capitalize on the JIE's enterprise capabilities, DOD needs to have the necessary security parameters and adaptability, and DISA is working on this effort for the department.
So much of the vision for the JIE depends on the development of an enterprise cloud environment, which is part of DOD's cloud computing strategy that they released last July. DOD, of course, began working to shift its operations to the web long before JIE arrived on the scene, but the cloud strategy formally aligns its cloud computing planning and implementation efforts with the larger aims of the JIE.
And one of the major components of the JIE is a single security architecture. It's designed to allow DOD cyber operators at every level to see the status of their networks. Department wants the ability to know who is operating on its networks and what they're doing. And the single security architecture describes how core DOD data centers and the server computing resources they contain, how they must be structured, what cyber defenses are required on those computers, and what detection and diagnosis capabilities that data center must have.
So we spent a fair amount of time covering it just because the JIE is one of the most important drivers affecting IT procurement across DOD this year. So you'll see it reflected across all of DOD's budgets and in most of their investments. So definitely keep an eye out for those requirements that we talked about that will contribute to the realization of the JIE, like infrastructure consolidation, mobility, big data, and common operating environments.